Ishanuga looking after Devashis Prabhu. Well done. Devashis Prabhu looking after Ishanuga. Saraswati Devidasi looking after everybody from a distance, maybe. Still from a distance, yes? Yes.
No, she's back. She's back.
Oh, she's back. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm back, but I am isolating for 10 days.
Okay. I didn't recognize the curtains in the background then.
They're keeping a close eye on me now, the government.
Oh, are they?
Yeah, they send me a test and they call me saying you must quarantine, otherwise you will be prosecuted and fined.
Heavy world, my friend.
Plus I have to do 2 more COVID tests, which I have to do shortly.
Very heavy. Anyway, you're back. So let me welcome you back to London. We're all in London today. Welcome back. It's not only England which is crazy, by the way. You know, the world is quite crazy as far as all of this virus goes. The fear of the revenge of nature coming to bite back. Oh, that's what's behind it. Rasamoy Pandita Devidasi, we saw you for a moment and you disappeared.
She's cooking.
Dandavad Maharaj.
Cooking, the eternal cooking lila.
We're cooking. Here's the team. I'll show you the Golden Narayan Prabhu,
Jai
Maya,
Prabhu, Dandavad.
and Ramananda Prabhu.
Look how much is in that pot, Ramananda Prabhu. My goodness.
Yeah, some rice. That's the second pot of rice.
Really?
Dokla. And Ananga Manjari.
Jai Nanga Manjari, Hare Krishna, Govinda Govinda.
I have to.
You're doing the cleaning. You're doing the cleaning the heart saver.
He's saying you're doing the cleaning the heart saver.
Oh, thank you.
Hare Krishna. Jai.
Okay.
Okay.
She's actually. Oh,
Can I
can
have it
hear
out
you
loud so we
sorry.
can hear the
Yeah.
we can all the class?
Oh yeah. Sorry, Maharaj, the audio didn't. Oh, that's Lavanya Didi.
Hello, Pandita. Hello, Lavanya.
Dandavad. Hari Hari Hari.
Sorry, you know, our hectic Saturdays.
Your Saturday
And Ananga
saver.
Manjari is scrubbing the burn pot.
Uh-huh.
Can we hear out loud?
Yes. I'll put it.
Jai Shri Gauranga Sunda. Jai Shri Gauranga Sunda. We just, Devashish gave us darshan by remote control. And Anindita Devidasi, welcome. I didn't see you this morning, but I did see Jaya Shekhar Prabhu this morning in the parikrama. And Shyama Sundari Didi is just joining. Oh, Vijay Krishna will join.
Hello, Maharaj.
Dandavat. And how is the world with you?
World?
How is the world?
World is good, Maharaj.
All right. And how is Leela Moy Devidasi?
Bilamui, yeah, she's there. She's just coming. Yeah, she just went upstairs to take something. Yeah.
All right. Okay, good. Welcome.
Yeah. Thank you, Maharaj. Thank you for yesterday. Cave time and everything went so nicely. Like she was saying to me yesterday night, it happened like Pakka way. So very happy.
And that was just yesterday. It seems like weeks ago.
It's like weeks ago. That's true. That's true. He's here, Maharaj.
Okay. Yes. Dandavat, Leelamoy Devidasi. Everybody, please give her your good wishes. We were explaining about Vaishnava good wishes and their value yesterday in different places.
Okay.
And so let all the Vaishnavas give their Vaishnava good wishes to you for your bright future, bright, fast spaceship, not the gross spaceship of this world, that, I mean, really a gross thing to send a satellite into orbit. You see how gross that is. Giant engines and tons of fuel like exploding out of the back of it. But we have another way to travel. We travel with the holy name, the grace of the Vaishnavas, and the grace of the Lord.
Yeah.
Shama Sundari Devi Dasi and Subhadra. Hi, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Subhadra. and literally we can say when we see them, we must know that Maha Mantra is nearby, always with the Maha Mantra. And that's what we're meant to be doing. This is Mahaprabhu's teaching. Always be close to the Maha Mantra. So, for those, everybody knows her husband is Maha Mantra Prabhu. Hare Krishna. And Ananda Sarupini Devidasi joining us today and joined us yesterday, though truly yesterday morning seems like a very long time ago. All right, so we're coming together. We're a few minutes in, so let us start. Let us start as we must always start with our obeisances to each other. So we've come together. So Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So Jai Srila Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Sunda Govinda Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Jai Srila Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhakti Rakha Sridhar Dev Goswami Maharaj ki Jai.
Jai.
Shri Rupanuga Guru Vaga ki Jai. And also we mustn't take our key jais for granted. Really, glory to them, all glory to them. This is really the current of most glorious descent of the most glorious everything. And maybe we may get a glimpse of it from time to time, but at least with our tiny brain, we can get a little glimpse from seeing the facts. And here's Subhadra's grandma. Here's your grandma, Subhadra. Here's Praneshwari Devi Dasi coming to join us. Govinda, Govinda, Govinda. Look, she's waving to you. All right. So, Devashis Prabhu gave a phrase, and you know, I'm grateful to Devashis Prabhu always for giving some very good titles for our programs. But I have to admit, this morning I got completely distracted in looking for this expression in Guru Maharaj and Gurudev's books. Because actually, okay, I found it in the end. I'm not 100% defeated. But really, I got distracted because you know how we go to somewhere in the books and we think, oh, it'll be here. And then we start to read and to go through. And then we find, you know, we're practically reading a book before we think, oh, I'm meant to be looking for this expression. And so sweet things everywhere. And practically it is as though, you know, whatever we read means whatever we are hearing from Guru Maharaj and from Gurudev, like every part of that is complete in itself. And we have an ocean of these, I was going to say not aphorisms, but an ocean of just clear statements about our life, the value of our life, and how we should use our life, and the goal of life. I mean, so many, I suppose you can put it in many departments, but I have to admit that in searching for this phrase, you know, I kind of went way off the track, and I went down other tracks, and then had to bring myself back because it was going to be 1 o'clock, or our 1 o'clock, your 12 o'clock in the afternoon. So I've been traveling very happily in different places. And then, you know, this little spark came to me, which I know many of you may say, well, the first thing to do is to go to Google. So anyway, after not finding it in our books and thinking that I would, I did what I actually don't usually do with such things. I went into Google and put the inverted commas around that expression, the expression of the unexamined life is not a life worth living. So I put the inverted commas around so it catches the phrase exactly, which I know, all of you smart people know this already. And then it came up with Socrates, good old Socrates. And how old? 2,500 years old. That's how old is Socrates if he would still be alive today. So Socrates said this, and Devashish obviously is familiar with Socrates beyond what I'm aware of course. But two things about Socrates that I've heard from long ago. It's not from today's research, because I only actually discovered that a few moments before we came together. But one thing I remember, which I do share with parents and, oh well, us older generation, that is, we hear so many complaints about the children, the youth of today, all of these things. And there is another expression which is given, which is told to be said by Socrates, and that is, if you just hear the expression, you think it's like a modern expression, that, oh, the youth of today, then they have no concentration, they won't pay attention, they have no respect for their elders. What kind of generation is going to come to be after ours? And I don't have the exact expression, but something like this. But then when you look and see who said it, it's Socrates, which is just 2,500 years ago. So it is not only our generation, but it is a natural thing. And I think if we look at ourselves, we can say, well, when we were young, maybe our parents were saying this about us. And look what happened to us. They were quite right. Or look at what happened to me. They were quite right. We didn't make it into successful material life at all. Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad, you're quite right. But for a different reason, we would like to think. But actually, I have to say, in my own case, I have to be grateful to my parents. They did not hassle me like that. They were actually, looking back on my life, like before being a devotee and then becoming a devotee, we can say they did not approve of me becoming a devotee. But we can also say they did not necessarily approve of me on the other steps I took in my life before. But they were I can say my parents were very tolerant, they were very patient, and they were kind, you can say. And anyway, I don't know why we're thinking about parents today, but we've just been on an online pilgrimage with the devotees to Muktinath, and we had devotees who'd been on the pilgrimages to Muktinath, who'd gone by foot. But we had quite a lot of devotees who, they're coming, they're joining, they're interested because it's an interesting journey, some adventure for us. And I didn't say it online, but it did come in my mind when we were talking about the devotees. And then we were talking, saying how everybody got along. There was not any friction, even though there are many hardships to start from the beginning to reach Muktinath. Really, there are lots of hardships to go through, many trials and tests and changes of weather and rain, and somebody forgets something somewhere. But there was not even somehow even a hint of friction between the devotees. And everything went just fully according to Vaishnava etiquette, seeing the devotee part and accepting whatever is happening in the environment around. And really it was very sweet. And I don't know why I thought it, but I also thought I never saw I was fortunate, I suppose. I never saw my parents argue or fight or anything in all that time. It just came in my mind that, we were fortunate to have that kind of that situation. So we'll give credit for the qualities of the persons who've taken care of us from the beginning, and we've come through now to our spiritual life, and of course unlimited qualities of our spiritual guardians. But there we are. Why we say this, not so sure, except it was coming out and in our thought process. So, dear devotees, here we are. Chaitanya Devirasi joined us just now too, and Shyama Malini.
Dandavat,
Hare
Maharaj,
Krishna, Dandavat, and Chaitanya Devirasi Dandavat also. Yes, Dandavat, and give a wave to Subhadra and all the others who were there. She likes to wave. Dandavat, Dandavat, sideways. Yes, Chaitanya Devirasi, Dhananjaya Prabhu, looking well in Rome near the Pope. Go and visit the Pope and give him good tips from the Bhagavad Gita. And remind him some tips from Jesus, like thou shalt not kill and things like this.
Maharaj, we want to visit you, not the Pope.
Well, you can visit the Pope to share some good things that you've got from the Pope. As Mohanananda used to say when he was going through the customs and through the immigration with Gurudev and trying to get them to open up the VIP lane. Like, he's the Pope of India. So anyway, from what we have heard from the holder of the conception of what is real religiosity or God consciousness, we can share that with the traditional Pope. All right, so let us come a little closer to the track of our theme for today, which is the unexamined life is not a life worth living. So who else, if I'd asked at the beginning, who else would have been able to say, oh, that's Socrates? I mean, not me, I'm not who else. Devashis Prabhu knew. Who else knew that was Socrates' expression? Anybody? Saraswati knew. Okay, you've been in the same class, I think, Saraswati. Maybe you've been in Devashish's class, the Socrates class. Okay, then Saraswati Didi, may we invite you, please say a few words on the theme and how did you know this was Socrates? I'm suspecting you've heard it from a devotee. So therefore, I think that you can give a little added explanation about it.
Maharaj, I think there's the opportunity to give to someone else to share something.
Okay, but how did you, okay, question, how did you know it was Socrates?
I Googled it.
You Googled it. Oh, I thought you were going to say, I sat in a class with Devashish and he told me about it. Okay, got it. All right, Devashish Prabhu, all yours, get us started. I mean, we can say something, but you've got something in your mind. So please start us off happily.
Well, it was just that came in my, when I tried to think, oh, what shall be the theme for this week, and sometimes I think of themes and then I realize, oh, we already had that one. but this came in my mind, because actually Socrates he was very serious about his inner life, you can say, so serious about that when he was faced either exile or death, then he thought, then what's the point of if I cannot pursue my inner life, my own self-examination of who I am, no point to live. And he was so, this we actually heard from Guru Maharaj, that he was so like sincere about that he was immortal, that he believed that he could continue that search after leaving this body. And so by his own hand, he took hemlock and finished this life. So, then we can see that it's a very serious path to examine one's own life. And we see in the world, most people don't want to do that. Most people don't want to examine their life. They just want to go on like sheep with the crowd, just following everything that everybody says, getting all their information from other people's thinking, from other people's thought. Of course, we all do that too, but it's a matter of like, who do you choose to listen to. You know, where is the source of your of the conclusions that you make about your life? And we all have all kinds of conclusions that we come about our own inner life. But if we're brave enough to have a look at that, and really it's the beginning of the spiritual search. Who am I and why am I suffering in this world? What am I meant to do? You know, all of these things, like what's life about? And most people, they don't want to look very deeply at that. They just think that the immediate gratification of the senses and fulfillment in economic fulfillment, that these are the goals of our life. In fact, this is the biggest brainwashing hoax that we all have accepted, that independence and wealth, to acquire wealth, those are the things that will give us fulfillment in life. But it's actually not true at all. And you know, just to illustrate that, we're reminded of that. You know, there's an American comedian, actor, and I'm sure everyone here has heard of him. Possibly not you, Madhusudan Maharaj, but because I know you don't really follow the zeitgeist or, you know, what's going on in the world very much. But an American comedian, his name is Jim Carrey, and you know, he's incredibly successful as an actor, and you know, a famous person, and he has all kinds of wealth and everything that he desires in life. But he said himself, I just wish that everyone could get everything that they desire in life, so that they could understand that that won't give them fulfillment. And you know, who better to say that than somebody who actually is in that position? He, you know, people aspire to be like him, to have what he has, and he's saying, no, this doesn't give you fulfillment. I thought it would, and I pursued all these things, but now I feel just as empty as I did without those things. So this is, you know, this is the common idea that if we have wealth, if we have celebrity, if we have fame, if we have you know, comfort, if we have independence, that all of these things will give us fulfillment in life. We can lead a happy life if we have these things. But actually, it's not true at all. It's you know, running. It's like, you know, we see the cartoon of the man leading the donkey by holding a carrot on a stick in front of him. The donkey's running after the carrot, but never reaching that carrot. And that's what the prospect of material life is, like this carrot hanging in front of us that we're always running after, thinking just over the next horizon, just over the next hill, just around the next corner, we'll have it. And even those who get it, generally they're thinking, it's not enough, I need more, I need more, I need more. And you know, Srila Guru Maharaj has described this as Hrid Rogam, heart disease. It's the disease of the heart, to always thinking, I need more, I need more, I need more. And he himself said, when I was an elephant, I devoured a whole forest and I was not fulfilled. When I was a pig, I devoured hillocks of stool and I was not satisfied with that. And so similarly, you know, in this human body, we want a million. Everyone wants to be a millionaire, and then a million isn't enough either. We want to be a multi-millionaire or a billionaire or whatever it is, and then we think we'll be happy. But what happens when you become a millionaire? Or, of course, that's not so much these days, but you know, when you become this incredibly wealthy person, then you have to employ bodyguards because there's other people who want to take that away from you. You have to put a big wall around your house with barbed wire, and maybe employ men with guns to stand guard over you. You know, so what is that? That's not a peaceful life. That's full of fear. That means you're full of fear that someone will come and take all of those things that you've worked so hard to acquire. They're going to come and take those things away from you. So, you know, then maybe we think, oh, we should then, you know, renounce the world, and that will give us satisfaction. If we leave everything in the world that we thought was desirable, that we thought would give us fulfillment, if we just leave that and go and find a cave to live in, or, you know, make a little hut in the forest to live in. First of all, even if you find a cave, before long, you'll have a man knocking on your cave door saying, where's your property deeds for this cave? And have you paid your tax for this cave? You can't even do that anymore. Or your, you know, your hut in the forest. Someone will want some piece of you for that. So even that, maybe in India somewhere you can go and live in a hill, on a hill in the Himalayas, in a cave somewhere, and no one will disturb you. Maybe. But that also won't give you fulfillment. When we were in Vrindavan once, and I met a friend of mine who was, oh, excuse me, just a moment. Mute somebody there. So, yeah, when I was in Vrindavan and I met somebody, actually I didn't recognize that person at all, but it was somebody that I used to know from when I was in ISKCON at Chaitanya College. But now he looked unrecognizable. His skin was dark, and he had a big beard and a top knot, and he's like Rudraksha beads and all of this. And he's like become a Baba in Vrindavan. And he recognized me somehow. Most people don't recognize me because I was a skinny little boy in those days. But he came up to me and he said, oh, do you remember me? You know, I was such and such. We lived at Chaitanya College together. And I had to think a little bit. Oh, yeah, I remember you. Yeah. So we were talking. He was telling me about his life in Vrindavan. And, you know, more or less, he has a little place where he stays, and, you know, he does madhukari every day, gets some, you know, begs for his food and everything. And then after a little while, he just said to me, you wouldn't have a Mars bar by any chance, would you? With you? I said, no, I don't have a Mars bar. And he said, oh, ever since I've been here, that's all I can think about is a Mars bar. I miss them so much, you know. And I said, oh, but I'm sorry to tell you that Mars bars aren't even vegetarian. And he was devastated. But after that meeting, I couldn't help but think, you know, oh, all this time he's living in Vrindavan as a Baba in Vrindavan and meditating on Mars bars. So, you know, that isn't the solution either. And, you know, similarly, maybe more dramatically, that happened, we heard with Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, that he met one of his disciples in Vrindavan who had now become a Babaji at Radha Kund, and he's living there. And they had some, you know, like polite exchange of words and so on, and then they went their separate ways. And one of Prabhupada's disciples said to Prabhupada, but he must be getting so much benefit living in Radha Kund, surely. And Prabhupada's reply was, he is not living in Radha Kund, he is living in Naraka Kund. And Naraka means hell. So, you know, it's not just by, you know, changing your physical location or something like that, that you'll get fulfillment in life. So not by, you know, not by material acquisition, and also not by renunciation. None of those things are actually going to give you fulfillment. The only thing, the normal position is to dedicate yourself to the center, because that's why we've been made. We've been made to be the servants of the Lord. We are the servants of the Lord. We've just forgotten that. And in that, you know, in the awakening of that, the realization of that, which we get by, you know, examining ourselves and looking for the truth, we believe, we know that as soon as you turn towards the Lord and ask, please, you know, like, help me, show me who I am, who I'm meant to be, what I'm supposed to do in this world, the Lord will provide that. And most of us have that experience, that we were searching after something, we were dissatisfied with the things that this world has to offer us, and we were searching for something else, something deeper, trying to examine like our life. And just by that act, the answers became available to us. We know that, you know, that that's my own experience, at least, you know, when I wanted that, when I wanted to know what that was. Sorry, I need to mute and then let's show the thing. Sorry. Oh, there we go. Excuse me, sorry about that. I'm hosting the talk at the same time. That when I was looking for those things, the answers became available to me, because we're not dealing with an impersonal absolute, we're dealing with the personal absolute. And we know that, you know, as Prabhupada gave this example in his purport of the Bhagavad Gita from the Shvetashvatara Upanishad, of the two birds sitting in the tree, and one is, you know, just enjoying or, you know, sampling all the fruits of the tree, and sometimes those fruits are sweet, sometimes those fruits are sour, but the other bird just observing his friend. And that bird is the Lord within the heart. And as soon as we turn our attention to him, then he's not interfering with our fruit tasting. We can do that as much as we like. He's not interfering with that. But as soon as we turn our attention to him, our friend, our real friend, then everything becomes available to us in our search. And that happened to me as a young boy trying to make sense of the world. In fact, my first. Sorry. Please don't keep unmuting yourself. So, yeah, when I was searching after some inner truth, I was still at school, and my English teacher, she gave me 3 books because she knew I was interested in these things. She gave me 3 books. One. Please, Ananda Srupani, stop unmuting yourself.
Actually, I'm really, really sorry. Actually, it happens by itself.
Okay.
When I'm moving around. So
I'm muting you. So, yeah. So my English teacher, she gave me 3 books. One was called Zen Flesh, Zen Bones by a Zen teacher, Alan Watts. Maybe you've heard of him. And the other one was called Be Here Now by Baba Ram Das, he was a professor at Berkeley University, Richard Alpert, who along with Timothy Leary discovered LSD, but he went to India and became a disciple of Neem Karoli Baba from Vrindavan, and he wrote this book called Be Here Now. So that book, second book. And the third book was Sri Ishopanishad by A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Prabhupada. And both of those books I found something useful, but the third book, when I read that book, every page was like resonating with me. Yes, yes. Oh, that's the answer. That's the truth. That's the. That was the beginning for me. You know, that was the beginning for me. So, but I believe that within all of us, there comes a time in your life when you have to question what your life is about. And when that happens, you know, then because the Lord is already with us, our best friend living within our heart, he will make that truth available to us, make that known to us. So, you know, we can understand really that what Socrates has said is true, that the unexamined life is not a life worth living. Just to go on like a sheep, just believing all the hype and the propaganda and all the materialistic, you know, humanistic sloganeering and everything else that comes along to try and, you know, capture our attention and capture us, and actually brainwash us. Sometimes, not so much these days, but, you know, when we were in ISKCON, when we joined, like, you know, 30 plus years ago, Krishna consciousness was considered to be a brainwashing cult by many. But the truth is that everything in this world is brainwashing us, is trying to convince us of something that isn't true, and that's called Maya. And all of the, you know, speakers of this world, the teachers, the politicians, the, you know, whoever they may be, they're all just representatives of Maya, and they're all trying to convince us that our prospect for fulfillment is here in this material world. That if we become wealthy, if we become independent, and if we, and you know, all of these things that they offer to us, if we can get all those things, we'll be fulfilled. But please, everybody, don't believe that. The real path to fulfillment is by examining yourself and finding out who you are and what your real purpose in life is, beyond this body, beyond this mind, beyond this world. There is a real purpose for everyone, and that purpose is common also to all of us. So it isn't something that, you know, that you have to be a great philosopher like Socrates to, you know, crack your brain to try and find out what that is. It's a simple thing, actually. It's a very simple thing. We are for him, and he is the most beautiful, sympathetic, wonderful friend. He himself says, I am the absolute, but I am friendly to you all. And that's our solace, that we have a friendly guardian, a friendly Lord, who has no other objective than to bring us into his loving service. And that will be the result of the examined life, I believe. So my little bit for today, Maharaj, please, over to you. I can spend my time muting those that I need to mute while you're talking.
We were like the bird, the bird seeing the other bird's activities there. I think we were hearing the cooking going on.
Yes, yes. I think so.
All right. Anyway, yes, indeed. And actually, Chaitanya Devashis is with us, and she gave a class one time, and I don't exactly remember where it was, but you know how we try to share out the talking and the giving the class. And I remember Chaitanya Moy, she was saying, oh, there's your cooking going on. And then she was saying how in this world, nobody spends the time to be peaceful. That as soon as they go home, they turn on the television. As soon as they do anything, there's always something which has to be done, some distraction. And if there's some empty space, they try to fill it with something automatically. And really, I thought, yes, that's true. When we think about the material side of the world and our experiences in the material world, you just don't see that people come home, sit down peacefully, and give time for themselves. But somehow or another, if we will just even spend a little bit of time thinking about where we live, and I remember for me, this would happen before we came to Krishna consciousness, especially seeing the stars at night and looking up, and you see like a vast array. In some places in the world, you see like a vast array of stars. You can't help but think, a little bit, it's not just the sun and me. Oh, at night, there's also a moon. It comes, it's not around in the day, but there's the sun and the moon, and there's me, and in many places of the world, probably London, I'm not sure. You've got so much street lights and so much probably other things in the air that you're not going to be able to see the stars hardly to think about it. But in many places, you look at the stars and you have to think like, well, so what am I within all of this? But we don't have answers in the regular world. And like, I don't know anything about Socrates, except we do know that he was a thinker, etc., and that Guru Maharaj did quote some of his more lucid thoughts which were there. But in the general world, there's no answer, so we just close our eye to it. Similarly to the fact that we know when somebody dies or a pet dies or whatever it may be, we know that the living entity has left the body, but because we don't have an answer, we don't kind of think anymore. So it's one of these unanswered things about the world, we can say. But I think the great wonder is that we've come in touch with those who do know the answer, that there are those who know the purpose of our lives. And then instead of just going through the routine of what's expected of us through education, get some skill, get some job, get some money, get some family, grow old, and oh yeah, what's the last thing? Oh yeah, die, that's it. So instead of that routine, which actually goes nowhere, then the idea behind this like self-examination, however much or not much we did before we became a devotee, after coming to the devotional school, we really must try to think that there are those who know what we are within the creation and what our proper position is. And we should self-examine ourselves now that we've come across their teachings, and are we putting them into practice? Are we actually doing it seriously? And so in fact, our japa time, this is actually our meditation time, if you like. I mean, we're meant to be chanting japa, and that's our time to sit and to chant our japa rather than to chant and walk and talk and watch the TV or drive the car or whatever it is. It's meant to be our time, our quiet time to chant. And Devashis Prabhu knows that we would go up to Guru Maharaj in the morning, and Srila Guru Maharaj, he would be chanting very often, mostly you can say, he would be chanting his japa on wherever he was, very often on the bed that faces the Ganges River, the outside bed. But he would come, he would acknowledge whoever comes in the room, but he would finish his japa round, and then he will start to talk with the devotee, chanting and japa. Then he finished the round, and then he's talking with the devotees. So we also have to think it's not just before we become a devotee, we're making a question about our life. We don't know, what we were doing 50 years ago. We don't know what we're going to be doing in 100 years' time. And then, all those things are sort of unanswered questions. But maybe some of us were serious about solving those questions. I'm not too sure I was so serious. But by good luck, we came across Srila Prabhupada's books and really waking us up to, yes, there is something more than what is just around. This is the purpose of your life. And I mean, I remember reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and it was just like a breath of fresh air instead of all the speculation. And I hadn't read that book you mentioned. I forget the title you gave it. You Live Here Now or something.
Be Here Now.
But we had read some other books of that era, and they kind of just didn't strike a chord in the heart, except, okay, people are searching. But when we read from Srila Prabhupada, it just became so clear about the Vedas, about the actual practices, where we are to go. And that brings us to a second thought that I had earlier on about this matter, and that is Sanatana Goswami in Chaitanya Charitamrita. He has made the questions of who am I, what is the destination, where am I, who am I, what's the destination, how to go. This is a pretty good inquiry. And this is where our self-examination really, we are shown the way to examine ourselves, and we're shown the answer from that examination coming from outside, not to start off and try to find out by ourselves. As we know, so many people, they've got their own ideas, write so many books. And in Brazil, still till today, when I went to Brazil, I was astounded at how many books in the religion and philosophy floor of one bookshop. The whole big floor, you can say it must be thousands of books, different titles about religion and philosophy. And at the end of the day, what's it all taking us to? Where will we find not just people's speculation or how things have been passed down in some strange ways, but what is the clean presentation of the conclusion of all of this? And there we really have to come to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who undefeated, as Guru Maharaj said humbly, that this teaching of Mahaprabhu is undefeated anywhere, if we may be so bold to say. But Guru Maharaj said that, we were with him. Guru Maharaj, his head down, very humbly saying, if we may be so bold to say, this is undefeated anywhere. And why undefeated? Because it is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come to give the purest thing. Purity cannot be defeated by any other thing. By good cannot be defeated by bad. But then Srila Saraswati Thakur, what he's done is to again present Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's message. And so that message of Saraswati Thakur is the message of Mahaprabhu. And this is what Guru Maharaj referred to as undefeated anywhere, what Srila Saraswati Thakur has given. And I read something recently, because I was doing a little research for another project, and there I read a report that Srila Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, had given about his tour in South India. And this was published perhaps in the Harmonist, but it was in English, so we're able to read it. And there he said that I had much hope when going to South India that I will meet so many religious persons, because South India, and he's from India, he knows everything. He said the reputation of South India is very pious and religious. He said, but when I came to South India, I saw that it was practically in the same state as before Mahaprabhu came to South India, and that much is needed to be presented here in South India. And so it was a very inspiring article, but also very powerful to show that Srila Saraswati Thakur presenting to us not some partial thing, but the complete message of Mahaprabhu. So this is our life. We should remind ourselves where we are. We should give ourselves that time and not fall into the category that, we don't give ourselves time for reflection and for thinking, for doing our meditation, which is our japa. Let's face it, japa is our meditation. We have so much service, but we must be trying to sincerely have a clean heart, and whatever prayer may be to the Lord, that prayer will be for savor, but that we are calling to the Lord during that time. So surely we're not doing that without any consciousness. And this, we hope we can develop the way that our gurus are teaching us, how Guru Maharaj has given us, Gurudev has given us. And what is that standard of this age? It's been given to us by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So very clean and very clear. The amazing thing is that whether we were really searching with some determination, or whether, you know, some question marks did come up in our mind and then they get put on the side burner. Because we were young, we don't have to think about those things until you get to 90, do you? So that's the conception of us when we're young. I know, I was young once, I promise you. So we can try to have this self-reflection, let it continue, and let ourselves try to see that we are on track for everything that we read and hear from Guru Maharaj and Gurudev and Srila Prabhupada, which is presenting Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur to us. And then with a clean heart, we try to find our own faults, and what we were saying a couple of weeks ago, beating our head with a shoe at the end of the day, so as to give ourselves, kick ourselves in the head for the things we weren't Krishna conscious, we didn't do right, this. And in the morning, get out the stick and give our head a hit with a stick in the morning that, oh, today, mind, you behave properly. So at least a little bit like this. Some thought. Oh, look, what a nice picture there. On Indita Devi Rasi, he's put so many devotees in front of Anugiriraj temple in Govardhan. Well, we'd love to see a big picture of that on Indita Devi Rasi. This is a very small picture. Reminder of the devotees there. Maybe Chaitanya Maharaj would like to say a little something. We're all in London now, Chaitanya Maharaj. We're not in Rome. You're the one who gave the talk about self-reflection. Here, over to you. You have the microphone.
I first, my dandavats to all the devotees in London, and the only thing that comes to mind now is the process that we're going through now, reading the Bhagavad Gita, and in also Swami Maharaj's Bhagavad Gita, our Bhagavad Gita, and we started this group, which we already seen twice. We're going to see again this week, and how beautiful it is to present such a concept and see hear and see the reactions, and how somehow it always touched people's hearts. Even if they're coming from a Christian background, and the presentation of the Gita, it can be very strange, you know, a battle, and then many of the culture, as for example, saying when there is a war and all the men die, and then the women get corrupted, and then the bastard children come to populate the world, and then that is the end of the dharma and a good society. And all these concepts are so distant and different for Western people. But even though, of course, explaining here and there the time and circumstances, people really feel the message of the Gita. And that's what we are so glad to be able to serve as a medium, even though, of course, it's well known that we are not qualified for that. But because we have all of you behind us, Srila Gurudeva behind us, and we are following the Gita of Srila Sridhar Maharaj and Swami Maharaj, then we feel we can stand and try to present somehow. And it's the only thing that I have now present in my heart, that it's so beautiful to see people are interested, people are looking for a message of the kind, and they are receptive, and they are, through this message, they do start questioning, I suppose, who am I, and what is my purpose in life. And as you said, and what is the way to get there? How do I get there? How do I reach that purpose? So this is our sharing Dhananjay is here beside me, and he was the one who put together the group and start the Facebook group and all this. And with your blessings, Maharaj, and all the devotees' blessings, we hope that we can reach some Christian hearts here in Rome. And
yes. Yes, beautiful. And just in case we don't see her again, because it's the first time for a while, Ratnavali Devi Dasi, you are a lively soul who knows about Krishna consciousness. A few words from you on the theme, please, for us today. And we're, by the way, we're happy to have you with us. We're looking forward to hearing your contribution. Have to turn off your microphone, turn on your microphone. Click. Aha.
Maharaj, I guess the only thing I can really say is that I am the typical example of a person who doesn't sit down to give oneself time to reflect. Hence why I've not been around. I'm always cooking and cleaning and doing something or the other. So I can definitely say it is not a healthy way to be at all. And obviously we all have commitments. We all have things to do in our material life, but it is a year of completely and absorbing myself in kind of my home saver life and work life in this pandemic has taught me that you need to give yourself that time to reflect and to focus on your spiritual life, because everything else is pretty much empty and vacuous at the end of it, you know. So it sounds a bit bleak and depressing, but I'm only saying this because obviously because of treating sick patients and COVID and things like that, you know, you see a lot of death and you see a lot of sadness and a lot of suffering, and it feels really sad that I'm unable to kind of share kind of Krishna consciousness with them in that circumstance, because they're not very receptive. They are very much focused on the body and on the physical suffering. So, you know, the best thing I can do is, if there are no relatives around, try and chant a little bit, you know, with sick or dying people. That opportunity doesn't come so much because usually I'm surrounded by people. But it just it was just a personal journey for me this year. I mean, to learn to actually, you know, you have to start with yourself. You have to be selfish in certain ways, but not in a material way. Selfish as in put your spiritual life first as well, and try and do, even if it's something little, some small bit of savor, some small bit of reflection, just as you said, you know, just take that time to chant a bit mindfully rather than just running around chanting whilst doing the laundry. Yes, I'm guilty of doing silly things like that. You know, just, you know, the real mindfulness. We learn about mindfulness in the NHS, and we're always teaching our patients to not think of the past, not even focus on the future, but to focus on the now. But actually the real now is now. Sit down, chant, and focus on your spiritual life. So I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt that you know, I've been quite self-neglectful, and that's why I'm here today, because I was like, no, cooking aside, cleaning aside, I have to join and see Maharaj, and yes, I think that's all I can say really.
So now you are doing self-examination.
I am.
You are
Trying
indeed.
trying to some small amount. Right.
Right. And Ajay Krishna was there just now, but now I see just a name and not a form. Ajay Prabhu, please, we are very happy to have you. And so just in case we lose you, we want to have you with us. I mean, now we have you because it's so rare to see you recently. Then please let us ask you to say some reflection from your side on this theme or anything to give us some life in our devotional week.
Well, reflecting on what Ratnavali has just said, the most important question that comes to my mind is how to do all these things. Because I am also the prime example of not being able to pay attention. My mind is all over the place. And I'm trying to make an effort, obviously, but like, I find it very difficult. And she talked about mindfulness, which I found a very useful method to actually focus on the now instead of what's going to happen in the future, what happened in the past, which are very counterproductive and not beneficial at all, I feel, for any progress in spiritual life. But still, even though I understand the theory, but putting these things into practice is where I have difficulties, and I'm not sure how to go on about it. But I definitely agree with what's just been said, that we have to reflect on ourselves and try to kind of perform our seva in that mood and in that consciousness as much as possible, even though it's not easy. Like, for instance, myself, when I try to chant my Gayatri every morning, I notice that my mind is like pretty much everywhere but there, and I find it very difficult to focus on the actual mantra, because it's almost like your mind is trying to kind of trick you and put obstacles between you and the mantra in every possible way imaginable. And I kind of realized I just have to let things go, and I just have to let my mind wander. Then eventually they'll kind of come back for moments at least. And then I'm at least able to focus on what I'm doing for a split second, which is more than nothing. And then slowly, gradually, hopefully, I can build up a kind of more steady and strong practice. But another thing I'd like to say, as crazy times we're living in, and as much as the world is upside down, I find that these Zoom meetings are actually very inspiring and very, very beneficial for spiritual practice. Because I, for instance, don't see myself going to the temple on an average Saturday, because I will find something much more important to do, to listen to a class, for instance. But it's much more easier just to sit down, turn my phone on, log in, and listen to all this very inspiring exchange of thought that we get through these meetings. So I'm, in a weird way, I'm actually very grateful for not for what's happening obviously in the world, but like it kind of makes me realize that we can make the best out of this situation, and this has not happened before. Like, in so-called normal times, we didn't have these regular meetings. Like now, there's one every day if you wish. You can log into different Zoom meetings every day, and I think that's fantastic, and it's very, very helpful.
Jai.
Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yes, and ditto for all of these things, and everything you're saying, all of us to some degree, we've got a tick mark. Yes, this isn't only Ajay Krishna Prabhu, we all face these challenges in our devotional life, and coming together, being with the devotees, then we can get a little strength to know, well, we're not the only ones, this is normal. And I don't know when any of you last read the book, it was the Nectar of Devotion, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Srila Prabhupada's Nectar of Devotion. there you'll see also, listed pretty much, and so many of the things that we recognize that we go through. Really, if we're honest and look inside our mind, our ability to concentrate, and then even there are lists there of the things which we do wrong when we're chanting. Like for one of them is the mentality that, oh, I'm chanting my japa and just like looking forward to when I'm going to finish my minimum number of rounds, or this kind of thing. Rupa Goswami's got it written there in the book, that these things, they're expected to come. So along the way, at least we can say, oh, okay, this is recognized. And as Guru Maharaj says, these symptoms are like lighthouses. But on the theme of like self-analysis, then we can say, but yes, we need to look at that. We need to recognize these things. And as you say, we want to try to correct those things. We have our aim, we've got our goal, we're going in the proper direction. And why do we know the proper direction? Because we've got the guides, and by their grace, they've given us that faith that we can really say, yes, what they're giving, it is the perfect thing. The only imperfect thing is us. We are the students aspiring for that. All right, for you all, everybody. Oh, Rupa Vilas Prabhu has joined us from the far east of London, Manila in the Philippines. Rupa Vilas Prabhu has joined us.
All of you.
Dandavat. And Madhu Gopal Prabhu also with us, Subhasini Didi with us, joined us later on in the program today. So, obeisances to you all.
Maharaj Ji.
Yes.
And I just use the opportunity to thank also Prabhu Devashis, whose Bhagavad Gita's classes are also giving us many inspiration and guidance. And we have downloaded all of his classes, and it's always it's giving us a lot for our meetings. Thank you, Prabhu.
I'm very happy.
How much do I have to pay for the secret URL to find these classes? Who do I have to bribe? We've been in India too long, I know. Who have I got to bribe? Anyway, maybe somebody can send me a link so we can also hear, because when we're doing things, I hear the classes from different places. Praneshwari knows. She can give me an examination on some of the classes. So Shyama Sundari, you see, I hear her classes, I hear different classes from around the world. And so I'd also like to hear. And generally, I have to admit, I'm not sitting there exclusively listening to your classes, please forgive me. But while we're doing things, other things, then we are able to listen. So somebody I want to bribe, but nobody's putting up their hand to say, yes, bribe me, I'll give you the URL. So I hope then simply for charity, that somebody out of charity will send to me. All right. All right, all good devotees, wonderful to be there in London. Now it's going to be prasadam time. My goodness, we're delaying you for prasadam, isn't it? It's 1 o'clock or so. And temple kitchen team. Well, at least you need a capital T, a capital K, and a capital T. Temple kitchen team, because it's a very dignified title. Temple, but kitchen saver team. Then you have a capital S as well. So are you about to chant Hare Krishna in the temple, or have you already chanted Hare Krishna in the temple?
It already happened at noontime.
Okay.
But devotees will take prasadam now.
Going to take prasad. All right. So then let us end with Sharirar. Oh no, not that verse. Let us end with Vancha Kalpatrubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Gurudev ki jai, Jai Shri Guru Maharaj ki jai. All our Sri Rupanuga Guru Vaga ki jai. All our present day Sri Chaitanya Saraswati Acharya Brinda ki jai. And Sripad Devashis Prabhu ki jai. Saraswati Devidasi ki jai for looking after us in London there, and all the devotees in London and all the branches of London around the world in various places gathered today. Nitai
Jai Srila
Gaur
Bhakti Ranjan
Premanandi.
Madhusudan Maharaj ki jai.
Yeah.
Nitai Gaur Premanandi. Hari Hari Bol.
Hari Hari Bol.
In my best French, bon appetit. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Advaita